Sales is one of the most rewarding yet challenging industries you can work in. Having a set of transferable sales skills can take you to any sales industry, regardless of the product or service that you're selling. These are 7 core fundamentals that any salesperson can use in any industry. I've been selling cars for the last 3 years, so some of the examples I use are going to be related to that. Number 1, you need to surround yourself with the right crowd. When joining a sales team, you need to find the right crowd and mentors within that workplace. Amongst all the salespeople that you're going to be working with, you need to handpick a couple of them. Keep an eye out for the guys that are sharp, that are closing deals, that are hitting quotas every single month. These are the guys you want to be closest to and you want to learn from. Now, sales can also be lonely. It's a free-for-all. Your fellow coworkers may seem that they want you to succeed. However, at the end of the day, every person needs to make their own commission. I've seen some salespeople do some pretty shady stuff over the years, and I find it's best to run a solo operation with having a couple good mentors by your side. In my case, at a dealership, I have GSMs and then sales managers. You want to be close to these sales managers. These sales managers are the ones that are going to be doing all of your deals, and the salespeople around you are basically just going to be getting in your way. Always remember, people are trying to benefit in some type of way. Your sales managers are good people to work with because in most cases, they don't get paid unless you close your deals. However, the salespeople you work with, well, they're on their own, and they'll do whatever they can to get their fair share. So seek a mentor and stay away from the crowd. It should be pretty easy to find those who are successful in the industry. There will be those that stand by the coffee pot talking about politics, and there's others that are on the phones or out walking around the lot. I'll let you decide who you want to go and follow. Number 2, the 80-20 rule. Basically, the 80-20 rule really means 80% of sales is understanding people, while 20% is product knowledge. Now, this may seem a little bit backwards. However, let me explain. You see, many sales trainings tell people to understand and learn their product, and then they go out and sell the product and everything that it does. However, sales is really understanding people. If you're willing to listen and understand their needs and wants, you can then go ahead and match them to the product or service that you're offering. By understanding this rule, the 80-20 rule, you can use this across any industry. Most of the time when people walk into, for example, let's say a dealership, they already know what they're looking for. You don't just randomly show up to a dealership and then buy a car. Very rarely does that happen. Most of the time you spend maybe a few days, weeks looking at vehicles online, and then you put together a little bit of a budget and kind of go out shopping and see what you can find. It's usually never 100% surprise that people walk into a dealership and buy a car. They came there with something in mind and they understand the product. They just need a salesperson to help them direct them through the process and put them into a vehicle. Think of the 80-20 rule as 80% is everything below the iceberg and the 20% is that little cherry on the top. If you are good at building rapport and understanding people, then you have 80% of your work already done. All sales is an exchange of value. Once your value of your product or service is greater than the amount of money in your customer's pocket, you then have a deal every single time. Number 3, always be training. I remember when I first started my career, I had spent so much time up until I even got hired at the dealership training, and I worked every single day until I had my first deal. I was going home and learning sales, and after a while, what slowly happened is that I was finding success in selling, and then eventually I started to plateau off. If you aren't training often and feeding your brain with new information, you're gonna become stagnant. I love the quote from Henry Ford: anyone who stops learning is old. Whether at 20 or at 80, anyone who keeps learning stays young. The greatest thing in life is to keep your mind young. I just recently finished one of Brian Tracy's books on sales, and in the book he talks about the importance of training and how every day when you're in the car you can get so much education by listening to audiobooks or podcasts. Number 4, discipline, mental and physical health. Sales is entirely mindset. And I know that sounds cliche, but hear me out for a second. This isn't a trade where you're going in doing some physical labor, maybe construction work or landscaping. You're not using your whole body. You're using solely your brain to do sales. We may not have a physical labor job as a salesperson, but I can tell you, I'm an introverted person and I don't believe I was born with sales skills. So this industry is extremely exhausting for me. The idea of constantly battling back and forth with people puts so much strain and stress on me that this is a tough tiring job. And a way that you can avoid getting this fatigue is by eating right. I can't even explain to you how important it is to eat the correct food. I see so many guys that I work with that look like complete zombies. They are off Red Bulls and cigarettes and all sorts of stuff to try and keep them just to make it one extra day. Now I understand this takes discipline. It's hard to be surrounded by a bunch of guys that eat fast food, sit out on their smoke break and have cigarettes, or sneak off into the back room to smoke their vape pens. If you are the 1% and you can stay disciplined, this will separate you from the rest of the salespeople. The food that we put into our body directly correlates with how our performance is. Now, I'm not saying quit cold turkey from all your bad habits, but what I am saying is try fixing some of your diets. Avoid some sugars, try and cut back on sodium. See if you can avoid some frozen foods with less preservatives in them. We live in America, so I know this is tough to get around. However, it's possible. I'm a true believer in health is wealth. Number 5, sales is a numbers game. It sucks. You're not gonna close every single person you talk to. I wish that was the case. However, understand the fact that sales is a numbers game. Your goal is to get in front of as many people as you can to increase your odds of getting that sale. This could be physical interactions or doing some type of advertising and online marketing to get in front of as many eyes as possible. If you do this long enough and consistently every single day, your sales will drastically improve. Consistency is key. I don't care what you are doing, but find a good habit and be consistent at it and watch what happens over a long period of time. Consistency is super underrated just because we live in a time where we want results right away. Number 6, follow-up is critical. We all know we should talk to our customers and follow up with them, but most of us don't. You see, follow-up is so important because at one point in the customer's buying process, they decided to come into your dealership or your place of business and inquire about your product or service that you're offering. And they may have left that day without buying that product or service. And your job as a salesperson is to find out why didn't they buy. Dig out what questions they may have that the customer's afraid to tell you. You see, sales has a lot to do with overcoming objections, but we can't overcome those objections until we know what the customer's questions and concerns are. So follow up with your customers. I don't care if they put in just an email. Something in their head triggered them to reach out to you. And it may be something very, very, very small, but it could open the door for something much larger. Number 7, goal setting. In life, you have to have defined goals, but because we're talking about sales, that's going to be my focus. So you need to break it down. You need to find out how many people you close a week, a month, a year, how many deals that you do, and break it down. What actions do you need to take to meet those goals that you're trying to hit? Goals can come in the form of pretty much anything. How much money do you want to make? How big do you want your business to be? How many people do you want to talk to? How many referrals do you want to get this year? We hear the term goal setting thrown around so much as like this cliche thing, but there's so many different ways that we can do goal setting, and most people don't talk about it. For example, as a salesperson, I have a certain goal of how much I want to make, how many cars I want to sell, and I break it down. Do I have to make a certain amount of phone calls? How many cars do I have to have sold by that first 15 days of the month? How many do I have to have sold by 20 days into the month? Break your goals down very small so that you can see little wins over time that will eventually hit your main goal. I highly recommend you write down your goals. I write down my sales goals for the dealership I work at, but I also write down personal goals. What are some things I want to achieve in my life? How soon do I want to achieve them by? Without a goal, you don't have any direction. My objective for a goal is to always aim a little bit higher than my anticipated goal. Let's say, for example, your goal is to make $10,000 in 1 month. To achieve this goal, you have to have a certain amount of sales and work a certain amount of days, but that is your ultimate goal. What I would do is set that goal just a little bit higher. Let's set that goal for $12,000 a month. Even though $10,000 seems so far out of reach, let's just set it a little bit higher. Because what you're gonna find is going to happen is you're going to have a harder goal to shoot for. So when you're trying just that much harder of a push to get to that 12,000, even if you land short, you still hit your original goal that you wanted, maybe even more. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. These were the 7 core fundamentals that I've used over the years and that I think are transferable to any sales industry. I hope you guys start applying these fundamentals right away so that you can hit your income goal that you've always wanted to achieve. Until next time, peace.